All right, this is a really quick video for my Winter 20 BA254 students. I just got done doing this just fantastic kind of real high level look at hypothesis testing, and the file somehow was corrupt. So instead of redoing that one, what I'm going to do is just give you a couple of high points. One, I do miss you all. I would much rather be talking to you on campus. I know some of the videos are a little dry, but it is what it is. What I want to encourage you about as you head into the hypothesis testing chapters, basically chapters 9 and 10, is those two chapters really are one kind of giant chapter when we look at hypothesis testing. The same 5 steps that we're going to start off by looking at the beginning of chapter 9 are also going to be addressed all the way through chapter 10 and into the last bit of Excel projects. All right, so what we need to do is lay the foundation so that you can understand how to perform a critical value test to start. We're going to get good at those. We're going to keep working on them, and then we're going to introduce what are called p-value tests. So early on, we're going to find some calculated value from some test statistic and compare that to a critical value, all right, of the same type of test statistic. And we're going to follow that process through. We're going to get good at it. That lays the foundation that I think at some point you could figure out really any kind of hypothesis test. And then we're going to introduce p-values, and those will be especially important as we look at using Excel to solve future hypothesis tests. So we're going to look at an analysis of variance. We're going to look at a chi-square test within Excel. Those are the appropriate places to do that. We look at, for example, like a chi-square test. In my mind, it's kind of a lot of busy work because it's comparing what is my expected value, which is versus what is my observed value. So throughout the semester, you know, we've talked about this is normally distributed, or we will assume that this is normally distributed, and that assumption can be verified through a test. Okay, whether or not that distribution that we're observing is what we would expect it to look like. So these that's the good news and the bad news. The good news is this process will follow us through a really large chunk of BA254. The bad news is it can get a little bit overwhelming. So what I'm asking you to do is you start working through the hypothesis testing section, in particular, chapter 9, chapter 10, is that you are patient and that you really focus kind of on a singular problem that's in front of you instead of worrying about where we're going in the future. What I want you to do is kind of when I assign something, and I'm starting to do that now by putting sections out there. You saw that in chapter 8. We had kind of sections 1 and 2 I wanted you to work on, and then sections 3, 4, and 5 I wanted you to work on separately. And I want you to kind of take the same approach here. Just focus on what I'm telling you to do. Work on just those problems. Don't worry about the application across the entire board. What you'll find is a lot of these hypothesis tests are really elements of review packaged in a whole new way. So as you get into that, break it off into smaller chunks. Just work at a series of problems, and then don't worry about kind of trying to put the whole thing together all at once, especially the beginning when you're trying to put together these null and alternative hypotheses, kind of the first step, as has been acknowledged by Dr. Holmes. And if you're in class, you'd hear from me over and over and over again. Setting up the problem, putting together those rules is one of the biggest challenges. As you practice it, will get easier, so you need to have some patience. You know, the lab is open online to help. I'm going to start to establish some Zoom kind of office hours, but I had to, as mentioned before, I had to get the course materials reorganized and set up for you before I can even do that. And so again, the first step continues to be to drive the content and reorganize it in a way that works for you working at home. But yeah, you're not alone on this one. Be patient, hang in there. Sadly, as these videos continue to come out, if I had known better, I would have gotten a haircut. My wife was like, "You should have gotten a haircut a week ago." Yep, I got that. But yeah, as we progress over the few weeks, I'm going to continue to put together some videos. I hope that they're helpful. The biggest thing, too, to take away, just standing here right now, again, speaking in an empty room, looking at myself basically in the mirror, to tell all of you to take care, to be patient with each other and the situation, and we'll get through this. All right?